Oh, we're live. Okay. Hello, this is Chris Strickland, and this is Morgan Massey, and we are here with Crystal Lynn, the Cowgirl Astrologer, and we are here to talk about how astrology plays into mental health. And it's a very important topic that a lot of astrologers don't really touch on, and we kind of thought it was a good idea to explain some aspects. So, hey, Crystal.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It was kind of spontaneous. I feel like this is such an important topic.
Well, thanks for joining us. Me and Morgan actually just had a long discussion about our Scorpio moons and how that affects us astrologically with our mental health and the hardships of it. So people that have difficult placements and have trouble getting through life and relationships and working and, all aspects of life. It's long overdue. I think we should have talked about this a long time ago. So
I agree with that. Yeah.
Let's get on it.
Let's get on it. Well, I just wanted to say, if we look at each sign of the zodiac, each one individually has a certain cross to bear, so to speak, emotionally and mentally. But then when you start reading the chart, like, you are a Leo with a moon in Scorpio. Okay, you're an Aries with a moon in Scorpio. You've got fire. So you've got this high energy, but then down deep in your soul, a whole different thing going on. You start to understand your chart, you have to take the good and the bad. You have to see the shadow side, and you have to be able to embrace it.
Exactly.
Where a lot of people get into trouble, and we're hearing so much about all these different personality disorders right now. It's very, very, very popular. And I think it's true that people can live in their shadow side. So you see narcissism, you see psychopath, you see these different things. Those are extreme cases. So can they look at themselves? I can't answer that. What I can answer is we can look at ourselves, and those that are watching, if you can look at yourself, that's the beginning of healing to your mental health. You can at least look at it.
Exactly. And what me and Morgan were actually talking about was Scorpio moons get a bad rep. It's definitely not a moon placement you would want. But when we put our hearts into a relationship, for example, we put everything into it. So in that case, we never really get over the people we fall in love with, ever. So it becomes difficult. And when you go through a breakup after 4 or 5 relationships, you want to call your exes, all of them, because every single one, because you loved them and you put everything into them and you remember that. And it's kind of like, they're different. Maybe they had a Sagittarius moon and they didn't really care. But a Scorpio moon person is going to always love the person they fall in love with.
Well, that's a perfect example of understanding. Let's just take Scorpio, for example, especially the moon. The moon in Scorpio is going to be very, very strong because you're taking the moon, Cancer energy, and blending it with Scorpio. So for Scorpio moons out there, this is a very, very intense placement. Okay, it's probably the number one, I would say, intensity. But what people have to understand is a Scorpio, when they connect with somebody, they have to know everything about that person. And if they are intimate with that person, the intimacy is how you know that person. So a lot of people give Scorpios kind of the bad rap of the sexual part of the zodiac. Actually, Scorpios are very particular.
Being a Scorpio moon, I am not the most sexual person. As a matter of fact, I'm probably the opposite.
Well, and everybody's a little different, but that's also because you are so intuitive that you do not want to connect your body to something else that's not a vibration that you're on, if that makes sense. So if you lower yourself to somebody lower than that, you're going to feel very dissatisfied. But if you find that soulmate person and you have that relationship with them, it is true that you will always be connected to them.
And, you know, Morgan here, you know, she just recently went through a divorce after how many years?
4.
4 years. She's cut them off. She's cut the umbilical cord. But later in life, I mean, she'll probably reconnect.
Well, how do you feel about that, Morgan? Like, do you feel that this is something that you've got to cut off, never look back? I mean, or do you?
Honestly, I told him, you know, he needs to benefit himself. That I've told him what I expect, what my priorities are, and what my goals are. And I don't expect anything less if he's really wanting to come back. It's all about
it's all about him.
Yeah.
Basically.
I think that's it. And you know, it's interesting because that is a common trait of Scorpio, that when they get in a relationship, they often start because it is the need to be in control is very important.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you start trying to fix people. You start trying to mold them into what you think they should be. It can be shadowy. It can be healthy. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I love how you said it. This is my priority and I'm not going to lower it.
Yeah.
Boundaries.
That's really a big thing right there, to set that huge boundary. I don't care who it's with, your friends, your job, your partner. But, you know, you also have to ask yourself, are you going to wait? Do you feel like you're going to wait to see if he's going to do that? And
we lost her. Hey, there's Crystal. Hey.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, I lost you. We're still on camera. I got you on speakerphone.
Why don't they just use my voice on the phone? Then we'll have a better connection. I'll just talk. Can you put my voice on it?
Yeah, we can do that. So what I wanted to talk about with you was I have about 4 or 5 exes that I just can't get out of my head. And whenever I get lonely, I always want to reach out to them, while other signs and other moon placements, different types of people, they can easily move on, while I want to reach back into the past.
One thing that's really interesting, the Scorpio has and needs this ability to regenerate themselves. You look at a snake, they have to every so often shed their skin. And that's a regenerative process. Here's the problem. When it comes to relationships, a lot of times they're not finished. They didn't end on a good note. And they're not done. They didn't have that full regeneration that a Scorpio needs.
Right.
When you're left cut off and not able to finish that relationship, you know, what is it going to come to? Even if it comes to a friendship. Lots of times Scorpios do have long-time exes and have friendships with them. I don't think there's even anything wrong with that.
Actually, my last ex, I am still very good friends with. I can't say too much due to a contract, but we still have that kind of romantic relationship, but not so much. And it's more like I don't know how to explain it. It's still there, but
how does it feel to you? Do you have peace with that? Are you happy with where that is? Is that something? Because
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I feel like the romance is gone, but at the same time, I feel the controlling aspect still there.
Yeah.
Like, I would get jealous if they moved on and found somebody else, you know? I feel like the romance is gone. And honestly, I don't really feel the romance anymore. But it's kind of like, you know, like when couples get really old, the romance really isn't there, but it's just kind of like you're meant to be together. So you might as well just stick it out. That's kind of how it feels to me.
Well, and I think that's a really good point that we have to understand too is that relationships do take on different dynamics. There is that period of time, it's kind of like the Neptunian relationship where, the rosy colored glasses and you're kind of in this total, it's like you're in this bubble together. It's us against the world. You know what I mean? The excitement of that. And many people, that is the Neptunian transit going over you into that relationship. And then that changes and sometimes it becomes more of a, best friend type of relationship, or a time when one person needs more than another person. Or there's periods of times where you feel that separation so you both can go and grow. Like Morgan's saying, this could be a separation for growth. For two people to, because if one person is draining the other person, which often happens to empaths, your water signs, Moon, Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces, and so they attract it can be a very vampiric type of relationship where they want to be needed. You want to be needed as an empath, and you want to be that everything for someone. And
Right.
That's what keeps us. But what happens is often you give everything to somebody that doesn't understand what that everything is.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So, for example, let's look at Aries for a minute. Okay, let's look at Aries. Let's just kind of maybe talk about some of the signs. Aries is going to be very passionate. I don't want to say pow, boom. They're in your life. Boom. They're there. Very strong presence when you have an Aries type relationship, but they're very impatient and they have a hard time giving the depth of their heart to someone. That Mars energy is always kind of, you got to remember, it's like the goat. Aries is that ram. So an Aries has to constantly push on into the relationships, push and kind of press the button to see if there's a reaction.
Right.
It's like, like you're saying, give them a call. Let's see if they text me back. It's kind of like you don't have a problem if you're an Aries doing spontaneous things.
Yeah.
Just because. Just to get, you want that attention. You want that reaction, whether they're yelling at you or they're mad at you. It doesn't matter. Aries love to push the button. That's how they feel love. They feel that love is, when you react to them, you care about them.
Yeah.
The worst thing in Aries that can happen to an Aries is if they get cut off, if they get ignored. You know what I mean? If somebody completely cuts them off, and they don't have anyone to bounce off anymore.
Right. And I can totally relate that to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
She's so like that.
Aries has a hard time admitting or saying, I'm sorry. It's kind of like, those are hard things for them.
Yeah.
So when we look at the shadow side, and we're also talking about, we want to try to talk about mental health here, and the reason is because so many people are breaking down emotionally right now. Chiron has it retrograded back into Pisces at the 29th degree. Okay, now it's moving forward again. This is an energy, this is a transit that happens only once every 50 years.
Right.
When you see all this stuff on, YouTube, all these relationship stuff, and everybody's looking at everybody else, we're all looking at a relationship, that's part of this cleansing process. And also taking the rose-colored glasses off. Right. I have the moon in Pisces in my 12th house.
Wow.
That's freaking crazy. And then I have
crazy.
Neptune. I was born with Neptune and Scorpio in my 8th house.
Yeah, that's wild.
And then I have Ascendant in Pisces. So my whole life, you go through intense mental, emotional issues because a Pisces is actually able to transcend through the dimensions. There's many dimensions, but most of us, like right now, we're just on, the basic dimension, wherever, but a Pisces is really able to see into the future, and when they dream, they can dream very prophetic.
Yes.
The problem is that Neptune is in Pisces right now.
Yep.
at the 15th degree, the highest place it can be. And what's happening for people that have water signs, particularly, is they're having breakdowns because they are becoming so sensitive.
I can totally agree with that. I have never, in my life, have been so sensitive as I am right now. I think it's Neptune.
Yep. Also, because I'm having my Chiron return, I'm 50 years old now, and because every person goes through their Chiron return from about 48 to 50. That's why that age group, especially for women, is considered menopause. And for men, they have their own menopause, okay? They have their own. And this is when everything breaks down. Everything in your life that you've ever thought was your solid foundation is no longer. You're standing there completely stripped of everything. And the sensitivity is so thin right now because Neptune is in Pisces that it's like, the only way I can describe it is some people have boundaries between them and other people, like maybe a door, okay, a wall. They're able to put a wall up just to protect themselves. But right now, for a lot of empaths, it's like a tissue paper or a screen door. That's all we have between us and everything else right now. Part of that reason is a lot of people feel like, and including myself, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't do the things I used to do. Even driving in the car with people, I have to be in the car with certain people that I trust and how they drive and what they do. I'm so sensitive to everything that I will get sick if I put myself in a situation I can't get out of, and I'm absorbing everybody's energy. And that could be, hey, driving in the car with some friends I normally would do, but now I can't do it. Be too close into, going out. For me now, going out, even to family events and Christmas and all those things, they're exhausting. And holidays are exhausting. And for a lot of people, including myself, it's like I used to be able to bounce back pretty good, but now everything I do, I almost have a 2 or 3 day, I have to recover if I put out too much energy. So in talking about relationships, when you say I can't be bothered, another way to look at that is I just can't give you my energy.
Exactly.
I'm not giving anyone else my energy because it's so fragile right now for so many people, their energy level, their ability. And we're reading into other people's psyches. We're seeing into other people, and that can be exhausting. Everyone has that placement of Pisces in their chart. We're talking a lot about it because Neptune's at its highest point. Chiron went back in there, and what it's doing is bringing up hidden trauma. It's very overwhelming. And let's look at Virgo. We're kind of bouncing around with mental health issues, but Virgo, mental health issues is going to be obsessive thoughts, obsessive negative thoughts, over judging everything. Virgos can get very paranoid because they also are analyzing everything to the point of freaking out. They can go negative, and now that because I have Pisces there, I can think the worst case scenario. The Pisces has the manic and then the down. In my life, I was always able to use my manic to do great things. I was willing to do the work behind the dream.
Right. A lot of planets are in their ruling signs.
Yeah.
Saturn's in Capricorn.
Yes.
Neptune's in Pisces.
Yes.
What else?
Jupiter
and Sag, yeah.
Mars and Aries. Yeah, you're having your Mars return right now. It's such an interesting conversation, and I just want to get out to people that to understand that this can be a medical issue if you're not careful. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's like saying I'm going to the beach and I'm gonna lay and get a suntan under the sun. Okay, and you don't put any sunscreen on and you burn yourself completely, right? And then you're injured because you fried your skin.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to Neptune, it rules the nervous system. Mm-hmm. It rules the anxiety. It rules the adrenaline. So what happens and what can happen for people, if they're not careful, they'll start getting on that adrenaline. It's like an adrenaline drip. You're always kind of anxious. You're always kind of like, what's going to happen next? Or you start getting in that flight mode. When you start getting in flight mode is when the paranoia can come in.
And I'm also noticing that a lot of people are being snatched away from their safe havens of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
People are being taken off their pain medication. A lot.
Yep.
Everybody I know that takes
Self-medicate. Probably.
self-medicate, all of them, they're being taken off their medication.
One thing you have to remember is if you're coming off a drug such as pain medication or even marijuana, what begins to happen is you begin to see life as it is. Here's what I want to tell people. Get help. Don't get off of these things on your own and then be going cold turkey and get sick, because that can send you into a mental psychosis.
Right.
Like coming off of something too quickly. There's got to be a way to start reconnecting with ourselves. For me, though, when I went through the specific transit, it kind of was specific to me in 2017. It's like it fried my nervous system. And I could not get off of adrenaline. My body would not stop. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. And I was totally going into another dimension that was not a dimension that was helpful to this dimension. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I had to get on medication.
Yeah.
I have to be on medication. And you know, I always ask my doctor, he's like, am I going to have to stay on it? Because I don't know who I am on medication. But then when I realized what I was suffering with the anxiety I've been suffering with the last 7 years, it is such a relief to have something that is able to stabilize me, that I don't have to live in that constant anxiety.
Right.
Now, for some people, you know, it's herbal, it's marijuana. I'm not against that. At some point, though, some things they're not working internally for you right now. And the reason this is being shaken up is, again, not only Neptune, but Saturn and Pluto. Right now, the sun's in Capricorn and the south node's in Capricorn. Capricorn is very high anxiety.
Yes, it is.
It's very detached. There's a lot of depression that can come around this. When you think of the planet Saturn, it's very cold.
And January is the most depressing month of the year.
Yeah, it's a hard month for people.
Yeah, I mean, my brother, you know, committed suicide in January, and a lot of people commit suicide in January. It's just the most depressing month of the year.
Well, and that's understanding astrology, and that, you know, realizing that when we go, you know, it's much Capricorn, you know, we have Saturn and Pluto. They're like completely, I think they're almost exact conjunct, aren't they? Right
I think it's a little past it.
They just crossed, didn't they? Just
yeah,
yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
Now Saturn also rules bones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my back and my body has been under so much pain.
Oh my God, that's so funny you said that, because my left ankle, when I walk too far, I get cramps in my ankle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been happening lately, and I'm like, oh my God, that hurts. What is that?
Well, Capricorn rules the knees, but it also rules the whole skeleton.
Yeah.
And when you get, like right now, the pressure's so dense. I try to tell people, like, everybody I know, their hips are hurting because Jupiter's in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules hips.
Yeah.
So everybody, you know, we're a little older, so, you know, you might bounce back, but for us, my age and people I know, it's like, oh, why are my hips hurting and my back's hurting, and I got, you know, I'm having teeth problems. Well, Saturn is putting pressure upon us so we can look at the areas in our life that have hidden pain, hidden problems, and bringing it to the surface.
Right.
And so, like, for me, because my back and my hips are really having some problems, it's forced me to really do some exercises and really stretch and really reconnect with my body.
Right. And, you know, yoga every day, I don't care how much you hate it, yoga helps so much, more than you think.
Yeah. Everybody has to have something that how they connect with their body. I have a lot of rocks, like big Native American Indian rocks on my property, and I'll go out there and lay on them.
Yeah, I've
stretch
seen them.
on them, and, you know.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, it's like I have to. But it's part of my mental health. And so, again, I guess I want to make sure this message gets clear is that a lot of people are suffering right now. They're suffering. And I developed such a anxiety disorder that I couldn't even function. And I did not want to admit that I needed help.
Well, it's that's that Virgo and Pisces pulling at each other.
Yeah. Let's look at Libra. I have Mercury and Venus in Libra. Libra, the air sign. The air signs are deal with high anxiety as well.
Oh yeah, my best friend's Libra, and oh my God, Jesus Christ, she calls me every day just freaking out lately.
Yeah. The vibration, the energy is changing so quickly right now, and we're moving into this whole different dimension that our physical bodies can hardly handle it.
It's almost unbearable. We have to deal with our personal lives, and people that are on Medicaid and getting money from the government, they're worried as shit.
What are the 12th house issues that are being neglected? Homelessness, homeless people.
Oh, the homeless problem is just too much. There's so many homeless people.
And here we are with all these empty buildings all over the world.
Right.
Here we are with all these opportunities, and yet there's people on the street.
And there are more empty houses than there are homeless people.
Mm-hmm. Well, there just has to be a way of rehabilitation because, a lot of times homeless people, they're highly intelligent, they're highly educated. They just got a bum rap, or they had a crisis, or they lost their job, or
right, and they don't have support, basically. No. Like if I didn't have support, I might be homeless.
Well, absolutely. I think that a lot of people are self-medicating. It's because of the high anxiety that we're having. Something like pain medication, Vicodin, Norco, they suppress the anxiety, and it brings you more internal. So you kind of you're not putting yourself out there as much, so you're kind of hiding in this medication.
Right.
And then it makes you feel good or what have you.
I know a lot of people like that. Yes.
And let me tell you, when you come off of it, what happens that's so difficult is you become, again, so thin, paper thin, and you feel everything now.
Yeah.
The sky will be bluer. The grass will be greener. There is a part of freedom on the other side of pain medication or any medication you're doling yourself out. Even overusing, Xanax and all of that. It's taking over our whole world. Why? Because everybody's dealing with this Neptune and energy, and because they don't understand what it is, they're just doing anything they can to calm themselves down.
Right.
And this is a time for people deal with your mental health right now, because like myself, I have to admit that I need an anti-anxiety medication. I can take something low, but I also need a mood stabilizer. Moon and Pisces.
We're on the same page here. We're on the same page. I have to take an anti-anxiety too. I have to take antidepressant. I have to take a bipolar medicine. Yeah, I totally know where you're coming from.
Yeah, and you don't have to over medicate, and I'm not saying medication's for everyone. I thought it would never be for me. I am much better, and sometimes I think, I'm going to try to get off the medication and see if I'm okay now. Maybe it was just that time period.
Yeah.
And as soon as I try to do that, the anxiety kicks in, and I have to realize that due to the fact I do have these energies, what I'm born with, this Pisces is
I think it's social media plays a lot into it, and what people are projecting into the world, what people are seeing on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I think they subconsciously just get nervous, and
you're picking up on everybody's vibration.
Right.
If you are an empathic, intuitive, psychic person, you're not, when somebody puts a picture up, it's like, oh yeah, yay, there's pictures. And if you're one person like me, now I can see into their whole life, through their eyes and their face. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. And you've got all this light, electronic light coming at you when you're changing, you're switching to YouTube and then this and then that, all these sounds, all these lights. It can really, really damage your mind.